we live
We're
now?
live. Yep. Hey,
Are we
everybody.
live?
Book Club. We're doing Wonder Woman 1. And this week is Alan's pick. So we're going to go with our Wonder Woman expert to take the lead on this. So let me
Okay.
get the screen ready. Get Alan over here and take it away, Alan.
I actually don't feel like an expert because what happened was I read All Star 8, Sensation 1, and Wonder Woman 1 all at the same time. Okay. And I did that way back when, like when I first got my All Star 8. Um, so I had the stories mixed up in my mind. Which was which book. So it was interesting rereading Wonder Woman 1 because it was not the story that I expected. I think it's All Star 8 that's closer to All Star 8 plus Sensation 1 that is closer to the movie. But this one, it starts out by giving that backstory to the Amazons, the Amazonia women, the Amazon women, I should say, and Paradise Island. So it gives you the sense of the gods and how it starts with the idea that um, what's the girl's name? The queen of the Amazons, Hemata.
Hippolyta.
Hemata, yeah.
Oh,
I can never
Hippolyta.
pronounce her name. So, so she is given by Aphrodite a girdle that gives her super strength. Okay,
right.
and so when the men try to fight them, they get totally defeated. Even they send the mighty Hercules against her, and he gets defeated.
Right.
So this is like, Ares is all upset about this. So Ares, gets Hercules to, try to get the girdle from the Queen of the Amazons. And the way he does it, so the way that they explain is this, that they set up the idea that men are strength and all this kind of stuff, and women have the power of beauty and seduction
Love.
and that kind of thing, love, right?
Yes.
And so in a weird, bizarre twist, Hercules, who's normally associated with strength, actually seduces the queen of the Amazons to get the girdle. Okay, so it's like a reversal of roles in this one. And he actually succeeds, and then he runs off with it. He's like, "I got the girdle."
It's like Revenge of the Nerds. Hey, look at me, look at me. I
It's
got
like
it, I got it, I got
such
it.
a funny scene. He's like
It's
running
like,
off with this girl.
it's a trophy, it's a trophy.
Yeah, so he gets he like seduces her, and then he's like,
Mm.
"Oh, can you show me the girdle? It'd be such a great thing."
Remember that scene in 16 Candles where the guy shows off the underwear?
Yeah. He like runs off with the girdle, and it's like, "Oh."
Yeah.
And and then they basically say, "Okay, now guys, get the women, put them into bondage," and that's what happens. So they get all captured, and they pray to Aphrodite to say, "Hey, save us, we're screwed." Right? And Aphrodite frees them, and they rise up against the guys. They get the girdle back, and you know, thus they get their freedom back. Then they realize that they can't live in the world of men, and they have to like bear bracelets on their wrists to symbolize that they were once in bondage because of being betrayed by men and being seduced by men. So they don't want to like that. That they always wear these bracelets as a reminder of that. Then they basically say, okay, we're going to go to Paradise Island. We're going to start anew. We're not going to be let those men mess us up anymore. And they live on Paradise Island. And they decide to make a new hero of their own. And they basically mold Wonder Woman out of clay. And then we see Wonder Woman growing up. And she's like strong, she's fast, she's like all these wonderful things. And basically, so So this is like a sort of it is an origin story of Wonder Woman, but it's actually a pre-origin story. It's a little different than like the traditional origin stories that we kind of associate to Wonder Woman,
If
where we
you
see her, as a child and growing up. This is get that precursor to that, and then we get a little bit. It's almost like they wrap it up very quickly after after they do all this historical stuff, and they wrap it up by Steve Trevor kind of lands there, and then they have the situation where uh, um, Wonder Woman and her friend basically helps Steve Trevor come to the island, and then it's what are we going to do with this guy? What is this guy? What are we going to do with this guy that's come to this island? And they realize that they have to. They're actually told by Aphrodite because Ares is like plotting to take over the world with war and blah blah blah. And basically, they're told that they got to go back with Steve.
Sorry.
Steve, and so they have to send their most heroic woman to go back with Steve. Now, obviously, the Queen does not want Wonder Woman to go back because anyone that leaves Paradise Island loses their immortality, and that's a huge thing. That in the early Wonder Woman, that's a major thing. So if you leave Paradise Island, you become mortal again. But Wonder Woman refuses to, stay back, and she puts on her a disguise so that she can participate in the competition to see who goes to with Steve. And she, of course, wins, and we all know that story. And basically, there's a small spy story that as they're flying back, they capture some Nazi spy, and then basically Wonder Woman drops Steve Trevor off at a hospital, and everyone's like, oh, Steve Trevor, you did such a good job of capturing that spy, and Wonder Woman is like, he's like, oh no, it was Wonder Woman that deserves the credit. But if you read Sensation 1, they actually explain that the nurse that's taking care of Steve Trevor is actually Diana Prince. And the reason she's always been called Diana, but the nurse that originally took care of Steve was something Prince. And she basically adopted that nurse's name and became Diana Prince. And then
she was Diana as well.
Yeah.
So she's like, you got to learn the last name.
We got the same names. Yeah, we got the same name. Yeah. So then basically
what buys your identity. If you remember, she hands her.
Yeah, well, she says, no, it's actually in Sensation 1, the nurse actually has a boyfriend that she wants to elope with. And she's like, okay, we got a good situation going on here. Here's some money and go off with your boyfriend. So that's basically it. So, Steve Trevor's like sort of fantasizing about Wonder Woman at the very end. And he's like, oh, I wish Wonder Woman were here to take care of me. And, Diana Prince, who's really Wonder Woman, is like, oh, she's probably nearer than you think. And that's how it ends. A lot happens. It's a Golden Age book. So a lot of stuff happens within a short amount of time. We got all that history. We got the contests that happens. We got the whole situation with Steve and the spy. So that all that happens within I think it's like maybe 8 pages, 10 pages. I don't know. It wasn't that many pages. But a lot of story content. And that's very typical of the Golden Age. So was that a fairly good summary?
It was a very good summary, yes.
It is for the first story. I'm gonna review all of them, but that's fine.
I only was saying for this episode we're just reviewing the first one. There's other stories. One is about a circus thing. We got a little bit of one thing that they did in the Wonder Woman books is they would always have some historical figure, and they would do like a little mini story about the historical figure. So in this one, it's Florence Nightingale. And then they have also additional stories like with other characters that would be in this as well. But the main thing was this first story really is the retelling of the origin and pre-origin of Paradise Island as well. So my thought, this is how I would grade this book. I love the cover, so I'm going to give the cover like so we're doing this out of 5, right?
Yep.
I'm going to give it a 5. Okay,
Okay.
because it's one of my favorite covers, I mean, of all time. So I'm going to give it a 5. The interior art, actually, I'm going to give that lower. I'm going to actually be pretty harsh on that. I would give it like a 2 or 3. So let's say 2.5, sort of mediocre. And that could because the digital copy kind of made the art look a little washed out that I was reading. I'm not sure, Matt. When you look in your version, does it look better?
It looks cleaned up a bit, but it's still pretty.
Pretty wonky, right? So
Yes, because
so that's more of a golden age thing.
it even has the original ads in there. So
oh, that's always cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I would give that the interior art 2.5. I actually am a big fan of history. So story-wise, I'm going to give this book a 4 because I actually really enjoy the history, like that whole origin stuff, and I really like the whole reversal of roles that they did with Hercules and the Amazons. I really did like that. I think they could have probably, expanded the story a bit more and kind of built out I would have done it as 3 parts, really, where that first part was, with the Amazons and the origin of Paradise Island, maybe even expand that a bit. I would have really kind of beefed it up a bit more. But story-wise, I felt like it was a 3 out of 5. I'm not going to give it as strong a thing because I really felt like it could have been more. They could have really gotten into they could have built up the other parts with Wonder Woman more. I just felt like it was kind of a missed opportunity.
I thought you just said 4, but I'll give it a 3. That's fine.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3. Well, yeah. So the thing is, the reason I said 4 is I really like that history, and then I sort of talked myself out of that.
I see. Yeah.
Because I was sort of disappointed because in a way I like the history part more than I like the Wonder Woman part, and that kind of defeats the whole purpose of it being a Wonder Woman book. That's why I like Sensation 1 better, the story in it better. It's more of a Wonder Woman story. And then the last is overall. So overall, I would give it a 3.5. Okay, so I say it's above average, good story, interesting book, just iconic anyways by itself. So I'm going to give it a little bit higher score for that.
Hey,
So Stephen, I can see Stephen's comments in the thing saying that art is great fantasy. It's not that the art is necessarily bad. It's just a bit washed out. It's just the way that they did it in the they could have put a little bit more effort in the printing of the story. Not, it's more about the printing process than the actual artwork itself. It's H.G. Peter that did the artwork throughout. So
Cool.
so that's my score overall.
All right. So the cover, here, I'll show the cover real quick. Cover is pretty cool. I agree with Alan. That is a pretty serious, good cover.
I bought a facsimile version at the con.
Yeah, Matt has the facsimile version.
Oh, I can't wait to get to your turn. I'm sure Matt will fill in some gaps I'm not understanding of, but it felt like a pretty straightforward. Like I before I read it, I knew she was made from clay and all the mythology and shit. So the first panel is who is she, and then you got Aphrodite.
Yeah, they put her in with all the other gods.
Yeah, you got Athena, you got Hercules, and you got Mercury, and it's kind of a mixture of all of them, I would guess. Is what they're kind of alluding to, maybe. The horses on this island look like kangaroo mixes.
They are kangaroos.
Okay.
They're alien kangaroos, to be exact.
Yeah, and there's a little splash right there. It's pretty cool. It even preludes to the army guy that crashes. So
yeah, Steve Trevor.
Great art to jump in, and then the art kind of downgrades a little bit from the first two.
That was my issue, like, and I think it's just because the digital version doesn't really but that's why I was asking if Matt's copy had the artwork a little bit more I don't know, it's almost like the line work isn't there or something. I don't know what's missing.
Yeah, it's definitely like those splashes were really professional, and then I could probably draw this stuff right here. Like this isn't too crazy.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
That army guy, I could definitely draw that down there at the bottom. I could do that. I think, but yeah, all right.
That panel of the Earth was the one I was going to highlight as like one that just made me go. "Ugh."
Yeah,
Yeah, that wasn't one of the better days.
I like the oversized, like Hercules being giant and shit. I think that's cool. You know, I like it. It's pretty nice. Yeah, and they're talking about the girdle, which I ain't gonna lie, I didn't know about the girdle until I read this. They kind of
Hey, you got a super chat.
No way.
JSS.
Super stat.
Get out of here. Hey, thank you, JSS. That was very nice of you. Really appreciate you, bro. That was very kind of you. So the girdle and yeah, Hercules pops up, and Hercules takes a swing arrow with the tree stamp.
Well, his club. It's like it looks like a tree branch, but yeah. If you look at old statues of Hercules, he has it looks like a tree branch club.
It is. It pretty much is. By the Lord, I would agree with that.
It's pretty interesting that they were able to handle them without Wonder Woman. I do like that part.
Well, this is pretty Wonder Woman. So.
And then her name's Athena, right?
No.
Aphrodite.
Athena is a goddess. That is Hippolyta.
Hippolyta? Yeah, I never can pronounce her name.
Aphrodite.
The hippie chick.
Aphrodite is kind of like their god, I guess. And she comes, and when she comes, it's pretty much lights out. Like she always kicks ass. And then they create her out of the clay, like as expected, if you know anything about Wonder Woman. And she jumps out, and like Alan said, she grows up, and she's strong as Thor, and she's fast as Mercury, and she uses this purple light to heal the army guy. And she's and I think Aphrodite said, like, I'll give you, did she get her lasso in this one?
No.
Okay. They're like, I'll give you some kind of powers. Was it the bracelets?
I'm reading Steven's comments the whole time we're doing this. He's like, he's not happy with my review.
I'm sorry. We're gonna make up for it, bro. We're working on it. Alan's was pretty good for the first story, I think. But yeah, she gets some bracelets or some chain, and she gets some powers. And I don't think she's allowed to have men around, so she keeps it a secret from Aphrodite at first. And then she eventually has to end up telling him. But did I skip over the part where Hercules just kind of
he steals the girdle, right?
Yeah, he like lays his pimp. That is so degrading of women. Like the guy's like, I'm gonna go make her my girlfriend. I'm gonna take the girdle. I was just like, oh, that's kind of cringe, you know. And he was successful. He's like, sorry.
I'm just pronouncing her name, Hippolyta.
Yeah, so he's successful. Like Hercules, he must be some Casanova. He's like, give me the girdle, babe. And she's like, here you go. It's like, come on, man. Why do women got to be so goofy?
Well, I mean, they're alone on an island. And, they're alone. Actually, at that time, they're not on the island, but they're alone.
I felt like it was.
He was a sexy guy, so.
Maybe. Yeah. Anyways, they do the battle. So I kind of thought maybe the lasso was in this one, but there's a lasso. I guess it ain't the one we're thinking of. Yeah, she ends up winning. She gets to take the guy back. I did like how the like pink box up there kind of sets up the panel, and then you got your word boxes to explain what's going on. The yellow panel kind of sets it up. I like that a little bit. That's old school, you know.
The loss of immortality is revealed, Steven.
Yeah, he said that. So this guy's like, he's very thankful because he was dead. Like he was dead, and she was like trying to figure out this purple light, and she got the healing purple light. She brought this guy
Oh,
back.
actually, that's one thing I forgot to mention, that Steve Trevor was pretty banged up when he got there.
Oh, yeah.
And
He
Wonder
died.
Woman
Yeah.
plays doctor and actually heals him with the purple light. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do get to see the invisible jet, even though it kind of looks like an airplane. So you get a
Yeah.
lot of first appearances in this
Well,
issue.
those aren't first appearances. Those the invisible jet is earlier.
Oh, okay.
It actually was in Sensation.
That's interesting. So I'm going to briefly go through the other stories because I did like one maybe better than the origin. So she does some circus stuff. This story was kind of dull. I'm not going to use this to grade against it, but she's handling the beast. The elephants are getting abused. She don't like that.
They're not getting abused. They're getting poisoned. Somebody's murdering the elephants.
Yeah.
It's pretty close to abuse, but if that's what do you want to call it? Is there another word I could use?
The elephants for the being the for the sin of getting captured.
Okay. So she's agile, like a whatever.
Well, she kind of like, so one of the performers gets hurt, and then she takes over the performance to kind of keep the audience happy, because there's a lot of military men in the audience, soldiers and stuff.
Yeah, she's very pro-military.
The thing that actually bothered me, that we didn't comment on this, was the font. It was actually a little hard to read. Sometimes their O's and D's would look similar.
Okay.
There are several spelling mistakes in there.
Yeah, and they would break up words all the time,
N's looked like H's and stuff like that. It was a little bit made it
a lot
hard
of
to read.
horseback. She's very horsey. She's always jumping on. There's always some horse shit going on with Wonder Woman.
Well, she's showing her strength when she's lifting up the horse and stuff like that.
Well, she rides horses a lot in all these stories too.
Yeah.
There's horse riding. Anyways, the Wonder Woman, and then they do another one where it's, what was that girl's name? This issue was dedicated to
Florence Nightingale.
Florence Nightingale. Yeah, it was kind of like a Nightingale thing, kind of. And then here she is on the horse again. This is more of the army stuff, and I didn't like that one as much. I did like this little kid with the lasso. Somehow this kid got the magic lasso, right?
Yeah.
So is this the first magic lasso right here?
No.
It's in Wonder Woman 1, and it's not the first lasso.
The kid got the magic lasso.
Wonder Woman 1 is not the first.
Going through
Sensation.
A lot of stuff happens before. Sensation Comics happens before, right?
Okay. Gotcha.
So there's a lot of issues of Sensation that happened first.
Well, if Steppo, if you ever want to join us and help us with these stories, you can. So he's lassoing people. He's very good with the lasso. She lost her lasso. She gets it back. Pretty fun. I like that story. But okay, so for my scores, I do want to point out this fat chick.
Candy.
We're not clueless. I know.
This fat chick. That's all right. This fat chick.
That's Etta Candy.
Yeah, she's great. So you get all of these little. Yeah, you get all these little side stories, which I appreciate. It took a while to get through them all, but it was fun to read them.
Yeah, so that was more typical in the Golden Age, especially before Superman 1. So Superman 1 was the book that sort of established that you could have a comic devoted to one single character. So
but even that didn't come out until Action Comics 13 was out.
Yeah, it was much later.
Yeah.
So the point is, these kind of anthology style comics were the norm back at this time, where you'd have like multiple characters and that you.
So for my cover art, the cover art was extremely better than the inside art, in my opinion. The only good inside art was those few splashes at the beginning. The rest of it was very mediocre. It wasn't the greatest, but the cover art, I'll give it a 3. I'm not going to go crazy.
No, Florence Nightingale was a very. I'm reading Steven's comments the whole time.
Yeah, it's all right. I know you love to pick it. I haven't
He's
been
like picking on me. I'm just
He's picking
responding to him.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't say anything negative about Florence Nightingale. I was
wouldn't-
just saying the story was Florence Nightingale. It's a very famous. She's a very famous nurse. So
No.
Etta Candy, yes, was tough and resourceful. Actually, she was super smart too. She's actually the one that comes up with the invention to make humans live forever.
The inside art, I'm going to give it a 2 because it's below average, in my opinion. There's a lot better inside art.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The story, I'm not judging the rest of the stories. If I would actually add the other stories, I might judge it higher because it liked the Lasso story. For some reason, I liked it. It's not horrible. It's a good origin. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's great. It's okay.
Personally, I like the mythology part. I really enjoyed that. As I said, I enjoyed that part more than I enjoyed the Wonder Woman part.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Greek mythology guy. I'm gonna give it a 3. I'm not going.
Yeah, that's what I did too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. And then my overall, I'm gonna give it a. We'll go 2.75. Not
What
quite.
did you give the cover?
I gave the cover a 3. Or no, what did I give it? Hold on. Yeah, I gave it a 3.
Oh, okay. I would have given the cover more, but yeah. Oh, I did give it more. Okay.
Yeah, man. There you go. All right, D.
Oh, I'm up. All right.
So Matt,
So-
next, relax, or are you good?
No, I'm ready. I'm not going to recap everything because
Because we've done it twice now.
yeah, you've done it twice. I'll point out some highlights and lowlights. Love the cover. The
Yeah.
cover is fantastic. Doesn't show up well on my screen, but I love the cover so much. Interior art, I was already planning on shitting on this panel here.
World.
That one is so bad. Like
Geography
I don't know if
wasn't their strong suit.
yeah, and I don't know if I could draw better. Like I'm not going to say what Biggie said, but I definitely think the artist could have done better.
Yeah.
So then, I don't know, like this one also took me out of it. Like that dude looks really, what the hell is going on there? That guy.
It's like a troll.
It's kind of
Yeah.
like newspaper comic art, you know?
Yeah. Then the story was cool, but I'll get to that in a second. Then that elephant story was the circus story. Was such a weird issue, and then like for no reason at all, she beats the shit out of a fucking lion.
Yeah.
Look at this.
She's showing like her all.
It
her
was a
strength.
chance. If you look at the line, it was a chance to get a double entendre onto the page.
Well,
Yeah, I hope I wasn't too rough with pussy. I don't want to hurt him. But
Right.
dude, she
Yeah.
like monkey flips him into the steel cage bars inside. that lion got up from that going, dude, that sucked. I hate Wonder Woman. And he was not a happy lion after that. Like,
Mhm.
but and then that story wrapped up real quick. They dressed her up like an elephant to catch the crook, or to catch the killer. And man, like that. Steve Trevor gets karate chopped by a fucking tiger because he got too close to the game. I fucking love that shit. Like, oh, that was an interesting panel. Like, no, what's Steve Trevor doing? Oh, we don't want him to be in this one. All right, he gets chopped by the fucking tiger. Yeah, but I mean, it's a golden age read, and
Mhm.
that's the important thing to remember when you're reading things like this. I definitely, I think you touched on this a little bit earlier, Alan. I'm not even going to hit the other stories. I don't think this needed to be a 64-page issue. I think they should have done a normal size issue and stuck with that origin.
Well,
And
at the time they were doing bigger books. It was like
Oh.
that was typical. Like
and
for-
we're, at the time we were, but this is hindsight, and I'm judging them on their past
you're judging
decision
them
making.
by today's standards. Okay.
Yes, absolutely, and by my preferences. So, you know, so I definitely would have appreciated maybe like a 30-ish page issue just on the origin. Like by the point that she leaves Paradise Island with Steve Trevor in the invisible plane because they did not have jets back then. I've been reading your comments, Steppo.
I think he's gone.
Oh, I
He's
don't blame
upset.
him.
Yeah,
He's
We've been
upset
wrong.
because I didn't defend Wonder Woman as enough.
He didn't even get a chance to listen to mine. He would actually enjoy what I'm going to say.
I didn't think I was that rough on it.
We got to read the comments. You did great, Alan, because I wasn't reading them enough. You did good.
Okay.
No, but like that story like wrapped really randomly. Like all of a sudden they're in a plane and she's capturing a spy. Like it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
it
what,
was weird.
that's what I was saying. They
Capturing
should have
this-
developed that more. That was my point.
The spy she's capturing is the spy Steve Trevor was trying to capture in the first place.
In the first place, I got that, but
Yeah.
I really felt like that was could have been played out a bit better. Like that was
Yeah,
my issue.
that did feel a little rushed. But
That was my point. That's why I lowered the score on the. Like I originally gave the score a 4 because I really liked the history part, but then I lowered it because of the rushed other pieces.
Yeah. But overall, like I think it was a long read. And a lot of what you read like didn't really add to the story. Like I think that they tried to pack like 84 pages inside of 64 pages, you know, like with a lot of extra dialogue. And and dude, hey, I know this is 1942, like World War II era. I hate when they're calling people Japs like that. That always.
I'm not too bothered by that. Even now, it's not. It's a colloquial term.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would call a Japanese person a Jap. Like that would be a.
in 1942, unfortunately, that was acceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you visit Japan,
especially
you'll see
since
what they
we're at
call
war.
us.
Dude, you know what? We dropped a nuke on them, 2 of them. Like they can call us whatever the hell they want. Oh, not we. Like you're in Canada, you didn't do that, but like I personally dropped 2 nukes on them.
They indeed dropped it. Y'all didn't.
It was our
Yeah.
radium they used.
Yeah, hey, we appreciate it. We needed that radium.
We're the only one that thought
Hey,
Hercules.
Steppo's still here. He sent you a
He's
super
still,
chat.
he's still
No
he's
way.
hate watching us now.
Hey, D, hold on. Before you can continue on, was I the only one that thought Hercules taking the girdle was a little misogynistic, or am I crazy?
No, it was, but and I tried to look
I
at
don't
it.
think I see it as misogynistic.
Thank you so much, Collecto. Thank you, Steppo.
Yeah. It definitely, in my opinion, was. But once again, this was written
So
in a time where that was kind of a thing, you know, like just
They
like
let-
yeah.
They let
well,
the women
no,
win.
actually, so it wasn't trying. The funny thing is, this was very progressive, and actually,
Yes.
Marston was a feminist in many ways, because what he was showing was that women were strong and stronger than men, and that men had to resort to being women. He liked this kind of role reversal of men and women, which is very progressive. It's as progressive as the stuff that's happening nowadays.
You're also
Right.
talking about a man who was in the original throuple.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, D. Tear it up.
No, you're good. So I'll get to my reviews here. Cover, I'm gonna go a 4. And I know Alan, you might say you would have rated it higher because you did. I love the cover, and I haven't given a lot of covers. If you watch back, I've not given a lot of covers that high of a score. A 4 is a very high.
Comics with crappy covers.
We have. But-
Black Panther was a good one, but okay, continue on.
Yeah, no, but no, the cover was fantastic. Interior art, I'm gonna go. It's a 2.
Okay.
Yeah, the interior art was a bit weak. I agree.
The story, I'm going to give it a 2.5.
Okay.
So one second. 4 plus 2 plus 2.5. I'm gonna give it a 2.75 overall.
That's what I gave mine. Very cool. All right. So me and D was pretty. We talked about our opinions before we started. I think we scored it very good for what we were going to think. All right, Matt. I'm very excited about yours. Alan's was fantastic. I loved Alan's, but tear it up, Matt. Give it to us, dude.
Okay. With regards to the mythology, most of it is fantastic. My only big issues with it is that I would have liked more consistency between the Roman and the Greek names. I mean, they're Greeks. They should have used Greek names, but I understand where that people might not understand who Hermes is as opposed to Mercury. At least they use
Yeah, it was weird that they used Mercury. I thought that
you know,
was
they used Ares instead of Mars, and they used Aphrodite instead of Venus. So, and Athena is the same both in both languages. So that those are fine. But Diana is a Latin name. It is not a.
Greek name.
It's not a
Oh,
Greek name.
okay. Hold on. Collecto
Greek
saying that inspired art was considered fantasy, so that's interesting. It's like a dream, pretty much.
Because the original Diana was known as Artemis, if you'll remember,
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
in Greek. However,
Hmm.
the Diana name is still it's actually quite fitting for Wonder Woman. With regards to the main story with the whole Hercules stuff and all that, I find it interesting, and I don't know if it's because of the times or not, but Marsden himself is certainly not one to necessarily avoid this. That the Amazons allowed themselves to party and do things with the other ones because they have been away from that for so long. There's a curiosity factor, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But Hippolyta would know better. And
Mhm.
so I think that I think she had too much wine.
Oh,
But Hercules was aggressive but the whole point of the story was he had to take the girl, like they had to do it that way. He had to take the girdle so that they would have to be under submission of bondage, so that they'd have an explanation for
For the bracelets.
because it's been brought up before. So
Mhm.
I actually really enjoyed as someone who's always been into mythology, I really enjoyed the mythology. Okay.
Yeah, that's, as I said, that was my favorite
You
part
know,
too.
Okay. Now, the best part was that the Amazons learned from it when they went to Aphrodite to be helped. It was not like, help us, and then they made the same mistakes later. They
No.
learned from their mistakes. They went to their own island. They lived their lives. The only real issue I have with this story, other than the quick roundup at the end to close it,
Mhm.
is think about it. The princess is not sitting next to the queen, and she is the only masked one in the competition. And she has the same hairstyle, the same hair color, the same outfits. Are you
So-
telling me, Hippolyta, that you can't see the obvious?
In one of them, they all dress the same. In later origin versions of Wonder Woman. they
Okay,
all dress
well,
the
then
same.
they
In this
fixed my
one, they
problem.
didn't. Yeah.
This one they didn't. And the only other issue I have is because if you remember, they did do horseback riding in the original stories that were in Sensation and All Star, and they changed it with the Kangas now because the Kangas are around.
Well, they
So
introduced them.
that was a
later,
retcon right there.
Yeah.
Now, as a guy who's a really big fan of Golden Age superheroes, especially from the DC All American, and this is an All American book, I really, 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 really liked it. Okay. Honestly, I think that for the time and for what they could do, they did a wonderful job with this book. Because with this book, they were actually breaking barriers.
Oh,
Because it
totally.
wasn't just, okay, now I realize she's not the first heroine, but it wasn't just the fact she was the first heroine getting her own book. So everything was breaking boundaries. So I personally think they did an overall good job for such a new concept.
Mhm.
So I will begin with the cover. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the cover is an absolutely fantastic Golden Age cover.
Yeah.
What most people don't know about it, and I only learned about it this week when I looked into it, was that H.G. Peter did the horse and the
And Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman on it, but they had some help from Sheldon Mayer doing
Oh, really?
backgrounds. Not a lot. He did mostly shading over Peter's brief pencils, and he doesn't get credited for it. But Sheldon Mayer himself claims that he's done it, so take that
We'll go with that.
whatever,
We'll go with that.
with a grain of salt. Okay. But the cover, I really like it. For a Golden Age cover, it's fantastic. It's yellow. She's wearing a red corset. So we have our tropes.
Hmm.
I give the cover a 4.5.
Damn.
Okay.
All right.
Interior art. Now, H.G. Peter is not my favorite artist. But I do take two things into consideration. One, the paper that they were drawing on, even the drawing cardboard or whatever, was garbage because of the war.
Hmm.
Inks were not the greatest. They ran a lot more because, again, the best quality inks went to the army. Okay. And thirdly, H.G. Peter was a very old man when he was doing this compared to everybody else in comics. Most people working in comics in that time were barely out of their teenage years,
Hmm.
except for the money guys. H.G. Peter was in his late 50s. For the 1940s, that is old for this kind of work. So I think that as a result, the spelling mistakes, because he did the lettering too, the spelling mistakes and the lettering style was, I think, an old man who was starting to have his vision go, trying to be more
Hmm.
whatever. So taking these into account, you can choose whichever score to give it. As an overall book, I give it a 2.5 in the art, but for its time, I give it a 4.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So Inside Art's a 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
The writing, Marsden was a hell of a writer. I will also give the story a 3.5. I would give it a 4 if it wasn't rushed at the end.
That was my issue. Yeah.
Okay. That was my only real issue with the issue. But overall, as a Golden Age book, as a #1 book for a very major Trinity character, I am still going to give the book overall a 4.
Nice.
Woo!
All right. Man, you guys smoked them scores. I think you're high on them cover scores, in my opinion, because I'm doing it as an overall of my knowledge. I'm not just going by the books we've seen. I know what a 5.0 cover looks like.
So
I
the
know-
reason
I
I,
know
gave
what
it that high is like
Hell
you
yes.
You can think like that would be like basically think of it this way. Like if you were gonna grade covers, right? And we got a million books that we're talking about.
Mhm.
You know, I would say 90% of them are not as good as Wonder Woman 1.
JSS, there's very little different between the original. In fact, the black lines are slightly clearer because you can tell that it's better. It's better inks and better papers.
That's
You can tell.
assuming, Alan, that 1 out of 10 books are a 5.0 perfect cover. I'm saying 5s are maybe.
No, so I would say like this, and then if you take that remaining 10%, this is at the top of that 10%, okay? Because is super iconic. It's really cool action thing that's going on with her going into the no man's land.
I know.
It's,
I
it's
love
a great
it.
cover.
I
I just
love
the
it.
yellow
Average
tops.
theme covered.
As a concept, this cover is fantastic.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite
It's
covers.
probably it's also one of the most detailed covers of this time. Look at this another way. Superman 1 was just him leaping up.
Yeah, I mean,
Batman
this is
1?
better than Superman 1.
I know. Batman 1 was just Batman and Robin swinging
I'm
across.
probably not giving them fives either, but I hear you.
No, but this one, but then again, this isn't DC. This is all American. They did things a little different. Because I also find that their All American and Flash Comics covers were a little more busy than DC's.
That's just
as
fine.
well.
I thought I'd just shoot that out there, but we can discuss what y'all think. I'm gonna add up the scores. Y'all
Okay,
discuss
so
yourselves.
one thing that I could have been a little bit nicer about is I gave the overall story as a 3. I mean, or overall book a lower score as well. One thing I didn't say is like some of the things that they did in this were kind of cool. Like the whole idea of putting in these historical female characters, like Florence Nightingale, that was just unheard of. That's, you know,
Exactly.
that was just a really cool thing to do. You know, there's elements here that you gotta love. You gotta say, wow, that's for the time that it comes from, way ahead of the time. I really did like the fact that he did do these kind of role reversals. I thought that was really cool because, you know, it was very progressive for the time. Now, nowadays when they do it, it's annoying, but you know, because they still do that now, right? And they make it like some big thing. When they did it back then, it was kind of like saying something. It was actually, you know, putting a statement that was not heard of at that time. So it was a cooler thing. So yeah. So I don't know. I love the history. I love, you know.
One thing I will say, based on Stephen's latest comment here about Diana being beautiful, one thing that I've liked consistently over the years is you can look at Diana and tell she's Greek, and she's beautiful. But I mean, like, they keep it consistent, no matter who's drawn it. She looks Mediterranean, and it's great.
Okay, so out of 80 points, it got a 52. Very well.
Have you gone
done.
back yet to compare them all?
Yeah, we should really compare all
You guys
the
ask me that every week. No, I haven't. How
And
many
actually,
Come
so
on,
what we
man.
should do is like have a battle, like
You got
find out
every one of
who actually recommended the best books at the end of all this.
one of us did good. If you guys want to, you can. I never really think about it that much. I'll get to it at some point if I want to, but it's not that important to me. I have a pretty good memory of the way shit ranks up, so I know which two were the worst, and I know which ones. I think the highest scored book we've had was what?
I think it was one of D's.
Was it D's? Might have been D's.
I think it was the Superman one.
The Hunter Prey or the annual?
Yeah, Hunter Prey, I think.
Oh, yeah. I just know the lowest. We're just really kind of worried about the lowest. We haven't had one really blow out and be a perfect book yet, but I guess I'll try to figure it out next time. I haven't. I've been busy. But so the next person to pick a book
Is Matt.
is Matt. So Matt, do you have a book ready for us?
I have a book that I've been debating it, but I'm going to go with it. I am going to pick Action Comics 340, the first.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Good choice.
Oh,
Good
that's
choice.
fucking awesome, man.
Very good.
I think it's a book that at least, well, all four of us can get into. And we're not going to do the Supergirl story in the second story. We're just going to do the first story, The Parasite.
Okay.
That is a fucking great pick, bro. My favorite part of that book is the centerfold.
Yes, the centerfold is well done.
Yeah, you get a signature from Superman. It says Superman. Really
It's
cool.
one of my favorite. It's one of my first favorite Kurt Swan covers. But also, not a lot of people know this, but The Parasite was created by Jim Shooter.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Oh,
Damn.
very cool.
What was he? 12?
Well, at this point, he had been working at DC for a year and a bit, so he was either 15 or close to it.
Wow.
Jeez.
That's crazy. So
Well, people don't
when
know.
did that book come out? In the 60s, late 60s?
Well, it's got go-go checks, so it's either 66 or 67.
Okay. So yeah. Wow.
So Shooter's the same guy that did Secret Wars, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Ain't that crazy? The guy that did Secret Wars did all the Legion.
Well,
What the hell, man? It's crazy.
he even went back just before he went to Marvel. He even went back to the Legion in some of the 70s books. He did almost a year's worth of Legion with Mike Grell in the 70s, and I've got one book that is signed by both Shooter and Grell.
All right, let's read Steppo's last comment. Diana was beautiful as the Amazons were by design. Men were rough and ugly by
Yeah.
design, different visually on purpose. And he kept saying it was fantasy, the inside art. Why would it be fantasy on the inside?
So the idea is fantasy has sort of you did kind of get it right when you said dreamlike quality to it. And it has sort of not supposed to look real. It's not supposed to look realistic because if it's more fantasy, it's more fantastical in the way it's supposed to appear. So it's supposed to
kind of like
not
a
look
story
very
beat.
realism.
Not
Yeah.
like real actual thing. Okay. I kind
Yeah.
of get it.
And Stephen, I agree with you. Women were going to war with the wax and the waves and all those other things, but the fact that they were doing the Rosie the Riveter thing, women really stepped up in the Second World War. And to be
Oh, of
honest,
course.
this book actually, Wonder Woman as a character, kind of reads to that more than most of the other female characters, because as many female characters as there was in the Golden Age, most of them were good girl art there for the boys. Wonder Woman was there to be a
Inspirational for
superheroine
girls, actually.
in
Yeah.
in an era that needed it.
Well, I think we're going to wrap up. Thank you, Alan, for your suggestion. I thought it was fun. Reading about Wonder Woman. It's always fun to learn these big characters' origins. I love first appearances, and I mean, it ain't a first appearance, but it's pretty close. It's the origin.
It's an origin retold, basically.
Yeah. All right, we'll be back in a week. What was you going to say, Matt?
I was going to say it's a bit of a retcon, and that's okay because back then they didn't think about continuity as much. So,
Mm-hmm.
All right. See y'all in a week. We'll be doing First Parasite. Action, I can't remember the number.
340.
340. See y'all then.
Okay, cool.
Oh, thank you to Steppo and JSS for the super chat, by the way. See y'all next week.
Yeah.